Pro boxing is broken up into two levels, A side and B sides. So what that means is we're gonna kind of break it down a little bit, but what that means is there's always gonna be someone who's favored to win and expected to win, and someone that's coming in expecting to lose and get paid. You can be an A side with a promoter, or you can be an A side without a promoter. Usually, to become an A side, you either one have a really exciting amateur career. People know who you are, lots of followers. You're bringing attention to yourself. You got connections, and so either a small time promoter, local person, or a big time promoter like Top Rank, DAZN, so, Eddie Hearn, things like that. Will give you an opportunity, but really, as the A side, what your goal is to build a good record that looks good on paper to give yourself more opportunities for big money down the road. If you're A side with the promoter, what that looks like essentially is your promoter helps pay for the expenses of the B side, because your B side opponent needs a flat fee for fighting. They need to get travel expenses taken care of and food, the little things like that. A promoter can usually handle those for you, but sometimes might leave you as the A side with a little bit less money to earn. They're going to say, hey, we're going to cover B sides, but we're not going to pay you as much because you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. So then you, as the A side, would make your tickets or your money off of ticket sales, which is why you'll always see a lot of boxers trying to sell tickets, because they're just trying to make their money, trying to get their hustle in. Depending on what stage of the fight or what stage of your amateur career in will dictate how much you're essentially earning. If you're a small time A side, you're still 1-0, 2-0. You'd be making a little bit of money here. But if you get yourself to a 10-0 A side, at that point you got a lot more eyes on you. You got people willing to pay to watch you fight. Now you can get a little bit more money. If you can be an A side without a promoter. Usually what that means is you'll get your money from sponsors. Sponsors will help you cover camp expenses. They'll help you pay for your equipment, coaching, little things like that. Help you even pay for your flat fee B side to come in, or your B side to come in for like the flat fee expenses, things that I talked about earlier. So with or without a promoter, both options to be an A side. A B side is someone who doesn't have a promoter and is usually getting contacted by somebody from the A side and saying, hey, we'll fly you in, we'll have you pay, we'll pay you $1,500, pay for your expenses and things like that. And what they're expecting is for you to lose, okay? They don't expect you to win, and therefore you as the A side, if you are, you're paying for essentially your record to look better, so you can eventually get to those 10-0s, 15-0s, sort of things like that. As a B side, you can really make a name for yourself and become an A side by defeating an A side. Let's say you go in, you're expected to lose, and all of a sudden you handle business and boom, you get the upset. At the same time, that could hurt you. Let's say you get the upset, people don't believe you're promotable, people don't believe in who you are as a person, so they're still not going to sign you as an A side. But now an A side is going to be extremely wary of fighting you because of what you did to the previous A side. So as a B side, sometimes you get stuck, and you see this a lot, especially where I'm at. I live close to military base, so I see a lot of people who were dangerous B sides that couldn't get fights, or dangerous A sides and they couldn't get fights, and because of it they joined the military because they're just tired of waiting around, which kind of sucks. You could eventually work your way up to being a B side from an A side. Let's say you're 15-0, and all of a sudden Tank Davis or Shakur, like, hey, this guy's 15-0, 15 knockouts. It's a good person on paper, and it'll look good for us to beat him. And so you go, you fight Shakur, you fight Tank, and now you got a good paycheck being a B side because you've been an A side that worked your way up the ranks. All over the place. There's a lot that goes into it. But both A sides and B sides are important in the pro level of boxing. So something that you want to have familiarity with. You'll always kind of know who's the A side, who's the B side. If you kind of just know the boxers a little bit. But again, both are important. B-sides usually get made fun of because they're the guys that are getting paid to lose. But without them getting paid to lose, A-sides aren't being developed and promoted. And without A-sides being developed and promoted, we're not feeding the next generation of boxers. So again, lots that goes into it. But that's just a quick little breakdown of A-sides versus B-sides in pro boxing.